Hi, I'm Joshua Mackey with Into, like get into it because you should. Vivian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am doing fabulous and even better now that I've seen Hazbin Hotel in all of its devilishly good glory. I mean, it is so fun, so crass. The characters are great, the songs are great. I mean, it's a hodgepodge of some fabulous things. What was the inspiration behind the series?
So it was inspired by a lot of things. I kind of wanted to take all these out. Like I'm a big blender person. Like I just take all these things and throw them in the blender and hope it works. And so for me, I'm a big fan of villains. Like I really love like the Batman Rogues Gallery. That's always been my favorite like roster of villains. So they're so thematic and interesting. And I was like, I want villains like that are all like thematic and based on things and like fun and different and evil in different ways. But then I was like, how do I kind of base a story around that? Like what's the best way to do it? Well, I also like mythology and I like monsters and I like demonology. Let's put it in hell. That's the perfect opportunity to do that. And then on top of that, I had all these characters I had developed for years. They came from all over. I've had Alistair since grade school, and then some of the characters like Charlie and Angel and Vaggie came more in college, and so it was like. Putting them together just felt right. I was like, this is kind of a found family group of characters that led to the concept of redemption and kind of deeper stories because around the time I was developing the show and also just like wanting to make it a bigger thing. Shows like BoJack and F is for Family came out that showed like, oh, like adult animation is leaning more into this emotional storytelling way. And so I was like, oh, I'm going for it. And I made the show more about redemption and about these deeper themes that I was like wanting to really get into. And that's what led to what it is.
Well, I'm so glad you went that route and dug all the way deep in there because it's so cool to see all that manifest within there with a nice little Broadway flair.
Absolutely.
And on that note, when you and the rest of the team were thinking about casting, what were like top three things you were hoping that the actors would be able to provide?
The biggest things and the biggest challenges was, they definitely needed to provide both the singing and the speaking voice in character. And, there was a foundation laid by the amazing original cast of the pilot. So there was kind of an expectation there. So there was also an element of making sure that, whoever ended up being the final voice, whether it be the original actor or someone new, that it is, satisfying and obviously lives up to that and still exists as that. And it ended up being a new roster of actors, but I feel like that was the challenge was making sure that they lived up to what the audience expects and but also is able to bring that duality of doing both of those things very strongly and also just I think for me, and this is something we just lucked out with, but I do think it resonates, is finding a group of actors who truly care about the characters they're playing. Because I feel like that's not always something you get. And I think that we got amazingly lucky with the cast we have because they're so passionate about their characters. It's awesome.
Oh, I love hearing that. And honestly, they did a fabulous job. The voice acting, the singing, the mics were on. Okay. We love to hear and see that. Into is an LGBTQ plus publication. And so we love to see all the queer themes that exist within Hazbin Hotel. Now, recognizing that more cartoons, more animated properties in general are just putting in queerness into the forefront. What do you hope that viewers take away from seeing this representation in Hazbin Hotel?
I've always believed that the best kind of representation, at least for me when I write, is just to do things incredibly naturally. Like a character is who they are and there's no question about it. And I don't want my stories to be centered around the struggle of the identity, more so, just the struggles of life. And for me, that's something very important to me because I have so many queer characters and so many queer stories and relationships in my stories between this series and my other series, Hell of a Boss. So I don't know. I'm so thrilled that it is something that is becoming more in the forefront, not only in adult animation, but also in children's animation. It's like really great. Like we're in a great boom of like almost every show feels like it includes some form of LGBT representation. And so I'm very glad that the show can be joining that, but I will say I'm very excited about how queer the show is and how much it was allowed to be and how much even in like the marketing and everything, like that's something I don't even control, and I love how embracing it the show and the studios are of it. So it's been great.
I love that. And I mean, from Charlie, Baggy to Angel, and then some, there's so much more still left on the table for us to see in terms of how we get to explore LGBTQ plus themes in the show. So it's a very exciting time, and it's a very exciting time for Hazbin Hotel too to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Now, my last question for you, and I may have the answer already, but I got to ask, would you rather be an angel or a demon?
That's a good one. I feel like personally, definitely a demon, because I feel like this hell universe is just really fun. I know I created it, but it's just like, it's like everything's neon and kind of messy and everyone curses a lot. Like the only character who really curses a lot in heaven is Adam. And that's just because he's a dick. So yeah. But
Adam.
it's really fun to be able to let loose like that. So I would say hell.
I mean, the way you designed it, and you're telling me right here, I gotta join you too. So I'll see you in hell. And with that, Vivienne, thank you so much for the time today. I'm super excited for our readers of Into to check out Hazbin Hotel, and hopefully they enjoy it just as much as I did. So thank you again for the time, and best of luck today with the rest of the press.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care. I'm so glad you liked it.
Thanks, and you too.